The Boston Marathon, it's not just a race, right? It's a puzzle. And today, we're not just going to run it. We're going to crack it wide open. We'll be using a powerful simulation to see the race from the inside out and decode its secrets, mile by painful mile.
So what is it about this particular race? I mean, every marathon is 26.2 miles, but runners will tell you Boston is a whole different beast. The question is, why? What makes this course a puzzle that has challenged athletes for over a century?
Well, the secret to Boston's difficulty, it isn't one single hill or some crazy stretch of road. It's hidden in the very shape of the course itself, this dramatic elevation profile. The whole story of the race is written right here, in these peaks and valleys.
So what is that challenge exactly? Well, it's basically a two-part trap. First off, the course is net downhill. Sounds great, right? But what it's really doing is quietly shredding your quads right from the start. And then, just when your body is hitting total exhaustion, bam, you're forced to climb a whole series of hills. It's just a perfect storm of physiological punishment. So how in the world do you prepare for a challenge like that without having to run the course over and over again? Well, you simulate it. We're about to see how this incredible tool turns a simple map into a dynamic virtual race that lets us test pretty much any strategy we can dream up. Just think of it this way. It's not a video game, it's more like a flight simulator. But for runners, it models both the physics of the course and the physiology of the athlete, letting us test out strategies and predict what's going to happen without ever lacing up a single shoe.
Okay, so any good simulation has to be grounded in reality, right? This one isn't built on guesswork. It starts by building its entire world from the hard facts of the course, pulled straight from the official race map.
The model's foundation is built on this kind of rock-solid data. The total distance, exactly 26.2 miles. The starting elevation, 462 feet. The top of Heartbreak Hill, pinned down to mile 20.8. See, these are the non-negotiables, the fixed points that the entire virtual race is built around.
But, a map isn't a human body. So to really bring the simulation to life, the model has to be layered with assumptions from decades of exercise science. This is where the virtual runner gets its legs, its lungs, and, most importantly, its limits. And this is where the model gets really interesting. It defines what it feels like to run. It calculates something called a fatigue rate, basically how fast your energy drains. It applies a grade pace factor for the penalty you pay running uphill, and a downhill pace factor for the little boost you get going down. It's these kinds of calculated assumptions that make the whole thing feel so real. All right, the simulator is built. The virtual world is ready. So now, let's go for a run and see what this thing can tell us about the Boston experience, mile by grueling mile.
The real power of this tool is captured perfectly in its own documentation. It says it allows users to explore pacing and fatigue interactions for every kind of runner, from the pros to the first-timers, all without needing a single real athlete to run a single step. That's huge. Okay, and here's where the simulation drops its first big secret. On the left, you see that long, gentle downhill for the first 16 miles. Looks like a gift, right? But the chart on the right tells a totally different story. Even for elite runners, you can see those energy reserves are just steadily draining. Those downhills are not free. They come at a hitting muscular cost. And this is what creates that two-part trap. The first 16 miles, they feel deceptively easy. But what's really happening is something called eccentric muscle loading. Basically, your quad muscles are acting like brakes, lengthening under all that tension, which causes tiny little tears. Then, boom, from miles 17 to 21, you hit the Newton Hills. With your legs already shaky, your body is suddenly slammed with this intense cardiovascular strain. The challenge is completely flips on its head right when you're least prepared for it. And you can see that exact moment of impact right here. As the course profile on the left starts to climb, just look what happens to the heart rate on the right. See that? Around mile 17, it just spikes. Those jagged peaks, that's the fight up each one of the Newton Hills. This is the race's big test, visualized as pure, raw effort. Okay, so we've got all this incredible data. We can actually see the race unfold inside a computer, but what do we do with it? How does all this data turn into a winning strategy on race day? Well, the applications here are huge. This isn't just some academic exercise. It's a total game changer for coaches trying to perfect a race plan, a goldmine for physiologists studying fatigue, and an amazing tool for data scientists building performance models. Let's put this into practice. Imagine you're a coach. You can take your athlete's goal time, run the simulation, and see that energy curve we looked at earlier. You can pinpoint the exact moment the runner is predicted to bonk, to hit the wall. With that knowledge, you can create a brand new strategy. Hey, let's pull back the pace in those early downhill miles, just enough to save something in the tank to conquer those hills. And this isn't just for one person. The simulator can model an entire population. I mean, look at this. It ran the race with 500 virtual runners, and it predicted a really clear distribution of finish times. The result? A median finish time of 3 hours and 56 minutes. That is an incredibly powerful predictive tool for race organizers and analysts alike. So for our final takeaway, let's look beyond the finish line for a second. This analysis isn't just about one race. It's really about the power of simulation itself, the power to make invisible forces like fatigue and elevation visible. It turns a chaotic race into something we can actually understand. This one single image, it might be the most powerful insight from the entire simulation. It's a paced heat map. On the vertical axis, you've got runner ability. The elites are at the bottom, recreational runners at the top. On the horizontal, that's the race distance. Green means fast, yellow is slowing down, and red means you're struggling. And look, you can see it with perfect clarity. Right around mile 17, almost every single runner, no matter how good they are, is forced to slow down. That right there, that is the entire story of the Boston Marathon in one chart. And that leaves us with one last thought. We've seen how simulation can crack the code of a marathon. It really makes you wonder, right? What complex problem in your world would you want to simulate if you just had the chance?